Let's start with the men's race, team race. Let's go men's team race, women's team race, and then we'll drill down on some individual events that stood out to you. Okay, so men's top 5 right now. These are the projections. You have LSU 81 points, number 1. Oregon 51 points, number 2. BYU and Florida tied for 3rd with 37, and then Iowa State in 5th with 34. So you are projecting very big things for the Tigers.
Yeah, LSU just gets stronger. They have more events they can score in on the outdoor track. They have the 4x1 now. They didn't have the 4x1 on indoors. And they've just been looking good across all. I mean, you get the horizontals, the vertical jumps. They have all these sprinters. They have the 4x1. They're so diverse in all their events. The only thing they're not really keen on is distance events, but that's fine. There's not that many distance events comparatively to sprint and field. So that's why they're dominating. Oregon, even though they won indoors this past season, Oregon had the ability to kind of use their powerhouse of Cooper Tier and Cole Hawker multiple times to get multiple points. But there's no DMR for outdoors. There's no 3K for outdoors. You can't double as much for outdoors. So Cooper Tier, he's probably just going to run the 5. Cole Hawker, he's probably just going to run the 15. So these two guys who could have got so many points for you now at most can get you 20. And I think that's what kind of holds back Oregon. They're still good. They're still much better than everyone else, and they still are going to be in contention to win. But right now, if LSU has the day that I think LSU will have, LSU's going to run away with it with 30-plus more points.
Yeah, Oregon, though, has the potential to have 5 event winners, which they did indoors. You could see everybody coming back and winning. They at least have a shot. But LSU, you're right. When you look at who they have, my goodness, obviously Javon Harrison can double up in the high jump and the long jump. They have Terrence Laird in the 200, and then part of that 4x1, Noah Williams, indoor 400-meter champion. They have 2 other jumpers, 2 people in the hammer throw. I don't even think this is a very ambitious estimate for LSU because, for example, you don't even have Harrison sweeping the high jump and the long jump, and you still have them coming in with 81 points and 30 points clear of Oregon. So I think they're in a very, very good spot. How about the rest of that group? You have BYU, Florida, and Iowa State all grouped together there. BYU and Florida 37, and then Iowa State in 34.
Yeah, Florida, they have shown enough data points that they're going to probably be another podium team like they are every year on the backs of their good hammer throwers and good sprinters. But I think the interesting two teams that I talked about earlier in the year is especially Iowa State and BYU. Yeah. BYU is looking good, and I don't really expect them to score that many points from like a Connor Mance. We'll get into individual, but I don't even have Connor Mance scoring more than 2 points in the 5K. Yeah, I still have them getting 37 overall.
Sleeping on him again.
Sleeping on him again. I have them doing better in the 10K. But BYU has a very diverse group of guys. They have really good steeplers. They have a good 5 and 10K group. They have 2 good milers, 1,500-meter runners. Then they have a really good pole vaulter. Now they have a really good javelin thrower. So javelin, pole vault, mile, steeple, 5K, 10K, that's basically their bread and butter. And they can get to 37 with that crew. Iowa State, on the other side, they could do even better, but I just think the distance events are so deep this year with all the 5th years back and just the improvement from the Oregon guys, et cetera, that what I thought could have easily been Edwin Kurgat, Wesley Kiptu go 1-2 in the 5 and 10. Festus Legat wins the 15. Boom, there's all your points. I don't think Iowa State's going 1-2 in the 5 or the 10 based off of what we've seen from Grijalva and Tier in the 5 and then Mance in the 10K and Robert, all these other guys. I just feel like they're going to be broken up and not really be a true 1-2 punch that we might have thought they would be a few months ago.
We're getting a couple comments in the chat about Oregon's distance crew and if they could double up. Matthew asks Cooper in the 10K, and then Gregory says, what about 15-8 for Hawker, 18 points, first in the 1,500, second in the 800 with Charlie Hunter winning. The issue there, other than it's just really hard, and you talked about how deep it actually is. Gordon's phone's going to go off for the entire pod, by the way. That's part of the bonus that you get with listening to this.
Sorry.
Is the Olympic trials are the next week. There's not much
Exactly.
downtime. So if you are thinking that you're going to be in the mix to try to get a spot, or you can have an outside shot to make the team, are you going to do a 10K, 5K? That's just a brutal double. Even a 15-8 with all the rounds is really going to be difficult. It's different than indoors. I would say it's going to be extremely difficult, combined with the fact that you said, especially the men's 5,000. It's a murderer's row there. I mean, has there ever been a deeper men's 5,000 in the history of the NCAA than this year? I mean,
No.
you've laid out all the stats in terms of times, and just because of the COVID year, how many national champions are coming back and running in this race. So stepping into that 5K, you're going to want to be fresh.
Yeah. And it's just like, I think if Cooper Tier wants to do good at the Olympic trials, it would not make sense to have 3 10Ks in your legs and 3 5Ks all in your leg, 3 10Ks and 3 5Ks in your legs before the trials. It's a lot of running. So I just think take it easy. It's okay. You don't need to win every time. Go out there, see what you can do. Maybe hope LSU drops a few events here and there. And then you're just 51 points. It's still 51 points. And that's with just focusing on one event. And I think it would be best for this is a time where Hawker and Tier need to be a little selfish and say, hey, coach, I'm running the 15. I'm running the 5. Let's go. And then that's about it. So.
Well, and you put yourself in a good spot. You're right, though, because with Image and the triple jump, if Michael Williams can recapture his magic from indoors, outdoors, Charlie Hunter wins the 8. You know, you're going to need to get some other points from the distance races. You're going to need to use some of that depth to get you some points in the 15 and the 5, but you're not out of it. You're not out of it, especially when we've seen DQs, we've seen drop batons happen every single season, and that could happen. That could happen again to LSU here. Not likely, but it's not like Oregon is lacking for individual champions. They have firepower. So from 6 down, I want to go to the women next, but are there any sleepers here? Or are there any teams that you think are underranked just based on circumstance, or because a person should have a mark, but they don't have a mark yet in that next group, that 6 through 25?
I mean, not really. I feel like no one in that 6 through 25 range is going to be finishing top 2. I think top 2 is pretty much guaranteed. Almost, it's going to be an LSU Oregon. I don't really see other teams coming in. I mean, but I could see a USC, Texas, A&M, Tennessee, Georgia, all those guys, North Carolina, A&T, Florida State. I could see them all finding a way to be 3 or 4, but I don't see any of those teams finding a way to be 1 or 2. So I don't think there's any true sleeper, to be honest.
No sleeper for Gordon. He is not playing the sleeper game this year.
Well, my sleeper is Iowa State and BYU, because no one is thinking those two. They're not perennial track podium teams. So those are the real sleepers, right? Iowa State and BYU, breaking up the LSU, Oregon, Florida party. So
yeah, but those are only sleepers if you're not
anymore because we're ranking them. But not everyone's ranking them that high.
Yeah, but you have to not be that high. If of the 2 people that rank them, yes. Yeah. You have to be not paying attention to not acknowledge that Iowa State and BYU can rack up a lot of points. You have to just basically think that distance events do not count, do not matter if you're going to say that you've missed what Iowa State's done over the past 12 months. Or you didn't even see what BYU did in 2019 when they had the potential. Remember that? They had so many points. Like, obviously they did what they did in the 10K, but they came back and had 4 guys in the steeple final, right? They had 1/3 of the steeple final. They didn't get a ton of points out of it. They had Franco in the 1500. They had the pieces in place to get a lot of points. They didn't cash in, but they could obviously do that this year if things go a little bit better for them.